Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Now let me interject here a second with a question, Chris. You said we presented, remember the check for $20,000, and you just found out now that you're on the clock. And how close were you to reaching the goal? Mm-hmm. 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 Oh my. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. 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 And trusting God and on a wing and a prayer, as they say. Mm-hmm. Now, how much was that again? Just $2 million. Yeah, it's really exciting news, Chris, to hear how God just touched that foundation, the Lilly Foundation, and made that possible, made that grant possible. Because I know you have been praying and asking people to pray, and we've asked people to pray, and $2 million. And that's a lot of money for us, and but yet for our God who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, it wasn't anything for him to do that. And once you and others showed faith and put that faith to action and trusted him, that's exciting. Chris, where can people go to find out more about this and maybe get involved in it themselves? Mm-hmm. Right. And that really was an honor to be able to be there, because we were there, of course, on the observance of D-Day. And we had that opportunity with Senator Portman to be there in the Circle of Remembrance, and to each of us that were there, a group of us, taking turns reading portions of the prayer. And, like you, my father was also in World War II, and his brother, both of them were in World War II, and both of them had the opportunity to go there on the honor flight. And having been to the World War II Memorial, it's kind of hard to describe it. You almost have to experience it. It's I think more well, I don't want to say impressive, but I think it's more awe-inspiring than some of the typical memorials, because as you approach it and you see the way that it's laid out with the the Pacific Theater and the European Theater, and the names of the states and U.S. territories that were involved. And as you said, you see these people going around looking at it, and you'll see these people with walkers and wheelchairs and canes, and looking at things, memorializing places where they served as young men, as soldiers, as sailors, as airmen, and lost friends, and just things that changed their lives in such a lasting way. And to be able to be a part of that, it's just such a wonderful thing. And then to be able to put a recognition of God in that memorial. And really, Chris, that's a tribute to what God has done, and used you and others to bring this to be. And I just want to thank you for all the work that you've done on that, Chris. Yes, it does. Hmm. 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 And, these are things that the people to which that is, a memory where they, remember hearing that announcement, or like a teacher. When I was growing up, I went to the Revere school system. We had a teacher who was from Hawaii, and she actually, as a young girl, was picking up laundry and watched the Japanese bombers come over the mountain and bomb Pearl Harbor. She saw it as a young girl, and she always told every class that every year how we, well, this time of year. And of course, as teenagers, we didn't fully appreciate it. But this is one of the things that these memorials accomplish, because these young people coming up, for us, 9/11, 2001, 9/11 was our Pearl Harbor Day that we remember. But we've got so many people now that are teenagers that it's just something we've told them, just like D-Day was something that was told to us. And if we do not take the effort to memorialize these things and to point out the hand of God in our nation's history, what kind of legacy do we pass on to those that follow us? Hmm. Wow. Hmm. That's amazing. And I know Christian schools will make that a stop as well. Chris, we got about a minute left in the program. Again, when do they anticipate breaking ground? All right. And what's that website again? Well, Chris Long, I want to thank you for being with us today. And I want to thank our listeners for listening. And, we give thanks last week for God's blessings. And we ought to thank God for these people that sacrificed their all. The veterans of World War II, the greatest generation they've been called. And they wouldn't have been that great if it weren't for their faith in God. Thank you, Chris Long, for being with us today. I appreciate that. Thank you. And again, to all of our listeners, I hope you'll check out that site, ddayprayerproject.org. You'll find a lot of good information there. Thanks for listening. Join us again next week. Join us Sunday night at 11 o'clock. And our Friday night Bible study continues, as do our Sunday services at Richfield Bible Baptist Church. Check us out live at PastorAl.com. Thanks for listening. God bless. Have a great weekend.